If you've got a lot of chest fat and you've got a holiday planned, or just want to enjoy summer without feeling embarrassed, or better yet, you want to enjoy it feeling the best you've ever felt, then I'm going to run you through the ultimate guide to fixing your chest. Because I've been there, it's shit, but you can turn it around quicker than you think. There was a time when this exact problem ran most of my thinking, because it's hard not to be reminded on a daily basis. It dictates what clothes you wear, you're limited to certain types of fits, and it knocks your confidence. So let's get this sorted so you can start feeling yourself again. If you have actual gyno, which is when you develop breast tissue, which starts as a lump behind your nipple, usually during puberty due to hormone imbalances, or if you've taken steroids and it's gone wrong for you, then really bad cases do need surgery. Most of the time, you can drastically improve it without. I had it during puberty. My nipples were sore, especially if one of your twat mates in school punched you in the arm and it grazed across and caught your nipple. My God, that was painful. But yeah, it usually resolves itself. And it did for me. But if I get to a certain body fat and slack off on the chest training, I'm still prone to looking like I've got a cracking pair of tits. The first one, which you've probably heard before, is to lose fat. Just this alone, done properly, can give you your spark back. I was due to get married in 3 months from here, and I wasn't going to spend what's supposed to be one of the best days of your life feeling and looking like this shitty version of myself. So I lost 15 kg and documented the entire process, which has helped me help tons of other guys who were in a similar situation. If you'd like to get some of those tips sent straight to your inbox, just sign up at the link in the description after you've watched this video. It's free. You don't need to get absolutely shredded, like 10% body fat, and this depends on how much muscle you've got already, but you'll probably look and feel great at around 12 to 15%. You can then decide what you want to do when you reach that point, whether you're happy with where you're at or you fancy pushing a bit more. But it's nice to know you don't have to go full shred and feel any negatives of going that deep into fat loss. To put yourself in the best position to have a tighter, well-shaped chest, you've got to build it. This doesn't mean you need to bulk up and gain more body fat. You can do this while you're losing. A lot of people say you can't, but these lads are all the proof you need. This isn't just a case of they lost fat and revealed muscle that was already there. It wasn't there. It was a weakness that we decided to work on by prioritizing it, getting stronger, and improving technique. Building legs while doing a cut would be a different story. That's not going to happen. But for something like shaping up your chest, you absolutely can. You've just got to make it the primary focus, because you have a limited amount of energy when you're losing weight, and if you spread too much of that across every muscle group, you just end up with a mediocre result. But if you direct most of that energy on one main thing while having enough to cover the minimum effective dose with all the others, you're going to improve the thing you want to improve. So pick 1 or 2 max that you want to prioritize. It's easy to get drawn into overly specific exercises and targeting certain areas, when in fact just covering the basics of proper chest training will cover everything you need. As long as you've got some sort of press and some sort of fly movement, you're all good. Here's 6 of my favorites. Flat dumbbell bench is good because you can get a deep stretch. It can be adapted to be more shoulder friendly if you have issues by adjusting the elbow angle, and it's something you can do on your own without a spotter. If you're really strong, you might need someone to help you get them up. I don't have that problem though. Before we move on, I do think science-based lifting has gone overboard with the stretch being everything. I've seen guys who have incredible chests that don't go this deep. Look at Chris here, who's the co-owner of this gym. He doesn't milk the stretch or the pause. He just bangs out reps and doesn't overthink it at all. Bench press is a classic, and it's great for building strength and size. Some people can get everything they need for a good chest just from bench. Science-based lifters would criticize this as well, but it's gone too far. You can't argue that the bench isn't a quality chest developer. If you have a hard time feeling your chest working, just slow it down. If you're tall and you've got really long arms, you can go for quite a wide grip like Arnold does here, but I'll get into technique in more detail later. Incline dumbbell bench is one of my favorites. When I had a shoulder injury from weightlifting, these were the only thing I could do, and I got by with just these for a couple of years. Same goes for incline bench press. This helped me transform my chest. You know, I mentioned prioritizing something before. Well, I made this exercise the main thing for an an entire training block, and the results blew me away. People think the incline variations just hit upper, but they actually hit mid and lower chest too. If you've got access to machine variations of any of these, they can be very effective for high tension throughout the movement. But we actually don't have any chest machines apart from the Smith, and we're doing just fine. So if you've got machines and you like them, use them. But if you mainly get by with barbells and dumbbells, trust me, you're sound. Once the pressing is out the way, I like to move on to a fly-based movement. Cable flies from any angle or seated are amazing. And I'd love to show you some demos, but Jamie broke the fucking cable. So I'm gonna show you some dumbbell flies instead. These are actually in my program at the moment. When I'm doing these, I think of making a big circle. And notice the way I'm not going all the way up with the movement. This brings us on to technique. There's certain ways you can lift which maximize tension on the chest. Let's rewind back to the golden era. If we look at some of the best, you'll see that sometimes it looks like they're doing half reps. They're not locking out. What they're actually doing here is putting as much tension on the target muscle as possible. With this level of control, it's impossible to not feel your chest light up. During a set like this, you'll see they do eventually lock out. This is because the muscle has become so fatigued that the lockout now gives you a little break, which then allows you to squeeze out a few more reps. So it's taking the intensity right up there. This builds muscle, but it takes time to develop this type of control, so be patient, you will get it. A way you can play around with this is by benching 80 to 90% of your body weight for reps. Say 3 sets, as many reps as possible with this technique. Guarantee you'll feel it. If you're someone who has trouble feeling your chest working and you struggle to get a pump, then I'd recommend you slow things right down. Work with a 3 to 4 second negative. Concentrate on squeezing every rep. Play around with visualization and imagine what you're doing. I'm passionate about this because it works, and over time you will develop a better connection, which will then contribute to building a great chest. Another technique tip is opening up your chest. This helps the target muscle give as much contribution to the movement as possible, as opposed to it being tucked away and mainly used in shoulders and triceps. The cues to activate this are pulling the shoulder blades back, driving your upper back into the bench, thinking ribs flared and chest towards the ceiling, and planting your feet into the floor so you're connected from the ground up. Old bro science categorized lower rep ranges of 8 to 12 to be best for building muscle, and higher rep ranges, say 15 to 20, would be better for muscle definition or something you do to appear more cut. But this actually doesn't make much sense. You won't get cut if you aren't losing body fat. Doing 5 reps or 15 reps won't make this any more defined. And researchers found that muscle growth can occur across all ranges, but it's around the 6 to 30 range where it's best, which is still a broad list of what's effective. Do you focus on 6 to 8, 10 to 12, 15 to 20? Do you do 3 sets of 30? Just give me a number. This might do your head in, but I like to focus on them all. Not in the same session, but whatever exercise is first on that day, you generally should go heavier on it to cover strength and hypertrophy when you're fresh. So some really heavy 6 to 8s maybe, because these complement each other. The stronger you are, the more you can blast higher rep work with heavier weights. If you can do this, loads of reps with a fucking decent weight, the side effects are you're probably going to be a beast. So doing heavy work with 6 to 8 reps will increase the weight you use for 12, 15 and 20 rep sets, whereas starting with these higher reps won't necessarily make the heavy work feel any lighter. Do you know what I mean? Whatever reps you do, whether it's 10 or 20, should be taken close to failure. This means there is no easier range. They're all hard in their own way. The low end hurts because you're moving heavy weight. You've got to grit your teeth and be switched on. The high end burns in a different kind of way. It's more painful, it lasts longer, it gets you out of breath. I love high rep sets. If you're doing them properly, you should be a little bit nervous before you begin because of how intense it's going to be. That's the level you want to be working at. If we're talking about transforming your physique, you need to build this relationship with your mind and body and push it to its limits. Chest hurts, but nothing like high rep squats. Those are the worst of the worst. I like to know what feats of strength people have done. So if you've done a disgusting amount of reps with a respectable weight, share it with us, we want to know. Nutrition is the most important piece to this puzzle. It brings it all together. With the goal being to lower the amount of body fat you're carrying, you need to see a gradual drop on the scale. You can recomp where your ratio of fat to muscle shifts in a way where There's barely a drop on the scale despite looking completely different. But honestly, I've only seen this happen with about 3 people out of hundreds. And it happened by accident. There was no intention of doing a recomp. We thought we were in a deficit, but body weight was barely moving. Weekly progress pictures were looking very different though. So we said, let's just keep doing what we're doing because whatever's happening here is working. But don't get caught up with trying to do this. Focus on a calorie deficit if you want to get leaner. And there's some really simple ways you can lower your intake to put yourself in this position. If you can recycle the same 1 or 2 low calorie recipes for breakfast and lunch, this only leaves you with having to make a different dinner every night. From what I've found working with a load of different guys is we can eat the same things for breakfast and lunch for a set amount of time, but we need to mix up dinner, otherwise it gets too boring and your wife or partner will give you shit saying, I'm not eating that again. So Monday night is fish, Tuesday night is beef, Wednesday night is chicken breasts, Thursday night chicken thighs. You get the drill, mix it up. At the end of the day, it's focusing on these for 70 to 90% of the time, while limiting these. How high you go with committing to this depends on how far you want to take this and whether you get pleasure out of doing something difficult, which takes a while to give you a return back on investment. Not really that long, it's a few weeks. For me and the type of lads I work with, it's well worth it. Follow those 7 steps and you'll be well on your way to peak physique this summer. If you want to learn exactly how losing fat can make you look bigger and more muscular, watch this next video here. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon.